If you work for the Catholic Church and want to transform the culture of your parish and put more souls in the pews, we're here to help. I'm Ty Hua, here with my co-host John Cons, and this is the Catholic Ministry Professionals Podcast, your favorite leadership development podcast for Catholic churches. Each week, you can expect engaging discussions, expert interviews, and actionable advice to help you move Jesus' mission forward in your parish. Today, we're discussing pathways of discipleship, creating the pathways in your parish. How to start building intentional pathways for discipleship in your parish that helps parishioners grow deeper in the faith and relationship with Christ. John, how are you?
It's a good day. So you did good there. I was I was typing in a little note on the title that I forgot to put in earlier, and you nailed it. You nailed it. You didn't miss a beat. As we're recording this, Pope Francis has passed away just yesterday, and so some sad news there, but also glorious news because by the grace of God, hopefully he's entering into the beatific vision. He gets to be with our Lord and Savior. But also selfishly for me, um, I love enclave time. I just think it's such an exciting time in the church. It's so good. I'm so excited about the enclave, man. It's such a good thing. So we pray for Pope Francis. We also look forward and expect and joy. I think that's okay to do.
You know what I find really awesome about the timing? Um, it didn't overshadow Easter at all. Like, I think he hung on for that. Like, hey, I don't want this to be about me. This is about Jesus, his death, his passion, death, and resurrection. And then if you take a look at the last two popes that have died, when they died, Pope Benedict XVI died during it would be Christmas, right? The octave of Christmas. Pope John Paul II died during the octave of Easter. So it's
Divine Mercy Sunday,
yeah,
right?
the day before. Yep. And actually, here's another cool part about JP2. So you get like this with Divine Mercy Sunday, you get, John, here's pop quiz. What do you get for doing certain things during Divine Mercy Sunday?
Oh, an indulgence.
Yeah. So within our Catholic faith, we can celebrate the night before. And that's what he did, or, the things that you're supposed to do. Pray, recite a Divine Mercy chaplet. They recited it with him. So he actually got an indulgence before passing.
I need so many of those.
So many. Anyways.
So many of those. No, that I really think that's cool too. And I was even talking with a few people because he was sick for a while before this. And the personality that I perceived from him, from obviously not knowing him, but just, you watch what's going on online and stuff.
Yeah,
but it was just, he didn't want thank you. Well, that would have been nice. I just got the sense he's a humble guy. He didn't love having all the attention and focus on him. And so I feel like he knew he was on his way out, but he's like, just take me home. let me die. I'll die in my bed in my place and just tell people I'm doing fine, and you could see some of that happening. And then, like you said, to go quietly after Easter, holding on to that. I just think anyway, it's a beautiful thing. And so we look forward to the future. And speaking of the future of the church, you are a part of that, our dear listeners. And so we want to talk to you a little bit today about the future of your ministries, the future of your parishes, and how we build clear pathways of discipleship to move us into that next stage of our ministries. And so I know parish work is ministry, right? That many of us wear multiple hats, and we're just trying to get things done on time. And that's not a bad thing, but unfortunately what that does is it becomes often a recipe for burnout, because when we're working hard, we're working really hard and we feel like there's a lot of fruit that can go unharvested, and that can really steal our joy. And so when that happens over and over again, like I said, that can be a recipe for burnout. But that's why it's important for us to be just relentlessly intentional with our time, to try and create intentional pathways for discipleship, not to hope that it happens on accident through the context of all the things we're running, but to take the guesswork out by creating concrete moments and intentional steps to follow through with individuals, to follow through with groups, to move them deeper into the mystery of God's love for them. And Ty, I wanted you to just take a moment. I want to give Ty the microphone here for a little bit. Ty's many of our listeners might not know this, but Ty's a blogger, and a growth coach, breakthrough coach for businesses. And so he just wrote this really great blog on the need for intentional work. And the line that stood out to me was how focused effort beats random reps. And so I want to just give you a moment to kind of speak into this problem that we experience in the church so often, and to speak a
Yeah.
little hope in there, little vision.
Well, thanks for the plug. Um, I think so many of us that work in ministry, in the secular world, or even just work in general, whether that's on our golf game, our time in the gym, we just think if we show up and we are there for a certain amount of time, results happen. And that's just simply not true. Now, one of the quotes in the blog that I just wrote is actually from a golf legend, where they talk about, this is Butch Harmon, a legendary golf coach. He's been like number one coach in the world for 20 or 30 years. But he talks about, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. Again, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. So we show up doing what we do, thinking it's going to work, but maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And we get really good at doing the wrong thing, whether that's golf, could be ministry. I take an example from my own history of trying to start a Bible study. I'm thinking young adult Bible study. I'm just, if you build it, they will come. And I'm thinking there's going to be 30, 40 people in this small town parish. And the only people that showed up were blue haired old people. Love them, but that's not the intent of this Bible study. What I should have done was, let's intentionally invite one person, work with them one-on-one, and then start to expand on that. Hey, can you invite another person? I'll invite another person. And eventually it grows into something, but it has to be intentional. In this blog, I also mentioned a study done by Northwestern College, where it's like, if you focus for 20 minutes intentionally on what you're doing, it would be equivalent to doing 40 minutes of work, right? So you can shorten that learning curve with intentionality. But if you're just showing up expecting things to happen on its own, you're not going to do anything of substance. You're really not. And that's where frustration comes in. John, we talk about it all the time, overcoming team dysfunctions, overcoming burnout, overcoming frustrations. This is what you need to do. Like, intentionally building your parish, intentionally building your ministry. This is what it's about focused effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And even more so, like we said, when you're running from one thing to the other, then those moments have to be very focused, intentional. So that's what we want to talk a little bit about today. And this is scriptural, right? Scripture says, Proverbs 22, verse 6, child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. We don't just hope that our kids turn out one way. We have to intentionally teach them. We have to intentionally lead them. And even each individual kid is different. When I look at my kids, the way I want them to practice, the way I want to train them up in the way they should go. When I look at my kids, my daughter is naturally more receptive to my leadership. My son, he's made from the same cloth as me, and we butt heads hard. What I have found is when I dig in and I face off with him in a moment of discipline, it makes him dig his heels in harder. So the way I've had to adjust my leadership with him is I actually have to sit down next to him. I put myself in a position where we are working on this together. This is not dad just beating this into you. This is dad trying to guide you along the way, side by side, walk in my steps, right? And so when I do that, then all of a sudden his defense lowers and he's able to receive. So again, we have to train people up in the way they should go. We have to be very intentional. And one other little thing that I think that comes from this is that there's a need when we apply this to our lives. Like, there's a tendency to think about this in terms of discipleship. Like, all I need to do is disciple people. But there's a caveat that comes when we apply this to our jobs in ministry, because we are all called to evangelize. We are called to disciple people. That is just our call as baptized Catholics, to go out, to be holy, to evangelize, to disciple. That's our call. That said, you should be doing that whether you work for the church or not. The thing that's different when you work for the church is that it stops being a personal call on your life, and it becomes something that you are called to scale up, to create a scalability of, in your parish processes, in your ministries. And so there's a real need, again, to think very intentionally. How do we build this into the way we live life as a parish, the way we do our ministry, and the way we do formation? And so there's just a slightly different approach that we need to have in terms of it's not just me discipling people, it's me scaling discipleship in my parish. And so I want to talk about three specific things as we go through, and we'll see where we end up. All right, the first of these three things is to build on your existing foundations. All right, the idea that you need to evaluate your existing ministries. Ty, when you're trying to figure out what you need to work on in your golf game, what's the first thing you need to do? What do you need to identify?
Well, my coach identified a
Fair
few
enough.
things. Yeah. So I just think it's like you have to find that baseline of where you're currently at. Because you know,
Mhm.
the old adage, you can't um figure out where you're going without knowing where you're at. So
Mm.
for me, it's that baseline you have to figure out. You have to identify where you are currently at in order to decide what direction or what problems you need to overcome. Um, so yeah, I would say baseline's the first thing you have to identify.
Absolutely. You got to look at your parish. You need to evaluate the ministries you have and the structures that you have in place, the processes. And then you need to look at them in terms of where we at, where do we need to be, what are the gaps in between, right? And by starting here, you don't have to recreate everything from scratch because you're going to identify, well, actually, we've got some really solid things here. There's fruit being born here. This is an area where we want to maybe duplicate some of the things that are going, or we want to make it stronger, or find ways to build the other avenues and pathways, the other parts of our ministry so that they can feed into that, so they can build off of that. So you're looking for gaps too, in your current systems, your current processes. So there might be areas where parishioners are falling through the cracks. They're not progressing spiritually. I think a very classic one, after your child is baptized, there's really no formation opportunities offered formally until religious ed, which maybe doesn't start until they're 5, 6 years old. So that's a big chunk of time where there's not a lot of stuff in place to engage the people. You might recognize that really where the gaps are is we've got good formation, we've got good programs in place, but our volunteers need to be trained in the area of evangelization, right? They need to be trained in how to identify the stages of discipleship for those that they serve, right? So addressing these gaps can help you to think through, okay, we know where we're at, and we have some ideas of things that could help us to move forward and get on to the next stage. So it's just really important to look at and assess where you currently are so that you can build on your existing foundations, because then you don't have so much overwhelm thinking, well, we got to scrap everything and recreate the wheel. That's probably not necessary, but that evaluation is very essential.
Can I interject one thing?
Sure.
I think sometimes it's really hard to evaluate because we don't. Number one, we don't know how. Number two, we're so in the thick of things that we can't see the forest through the tree, right? And I think we need to bring on, at that point, we need to bring on somebody that is outside, like Catholic ministry professionals. Shoot us an email to be able to help just evaluate things. Maybe once we say, hey, here are the three things that you need to work on, because you really don't have a plan. You can't intentionally build it without it, right? Here are the things you need to work on, and then you take it and you run with it. But if you need more help, we can help you out there as well. As far as building a plan and working with your staff or whatever. I think sometimes, most times, these parish professionals, these Catholic ministry professionals, are so stuck in the weeds that they can't evaluate, John. And that's where they need to bring on an outside source like CMP to help them with it. So again, shoot us an email and we can definitely walk you through it. John's got a great assessment tool. Again, our website, if you want to put it up there, /resources.
Absolutely. And I'm even going to go, I'm going to put together a worksheet that'll be available for download too after this podcast comes out. And you'll be able to take that. And it's a good starting place to start thinking through some of these things as well. And then if that trips your trigger, then we would really love to work with you and come in too. So the second thing we want to work on too, as we're looking at creating pathways of discipleship, is to identify clear entry points for people along the pathway. So in our last episode, we did talk about what are the different pathways that are out there. Hopefully you've taken some time to find one that works for you, find one that makes sense in the context of your parish. The important thing of this is to make sure that there are clear entry points. Again, so much of we have these kind of naturally built into our parishes. You've got baptism, you've got your religious ed, you've got first communion, confirmation, RCIA, weddings, like these clear benchmark moments in life. But there's more that maybe will allow you to capture people that you're not capturing through those, because there's people who just show up on a random weekend because their friend was going to this parish, they happen to be visiting them, or maybe you're a larger city with multiple parishes and they're bouncing around. How do you capture those people? Do you recognize that when people come into your parish, when they come to your events, that there are real clear entry points where you can begin to onboard someone? And the thing that this is going to bring to light for you is the reality that, wow, there are so many people that we're not engaging when they come into our doors. Like, there are real, again, gaps here when we look at all the clear entry points that people have. So that's kind of your starting point, is to look at where are the places where people are coming into our parish where we could engage them. And that could be welcome events. It could be introductory faith formation classes. It could be small groups, or maybe someone awesome like Ty starts a Bible study. There's volunteer opportunities. Sometimes you'll get people for volunteer opportunities that won't come to mass, right? So how do we use these concrete moments to onboard parishioners, to get them into the system, right? To get them into the process so that we can follow up with them, so we can really begin that process of building trust and engaging in them in a deeper dialogue that helps us to walk them down that pathway, so that they're not just participating in the parish, but we're able to equip them and send them out to make disciples, to send them out as missionaries in our community on behalf of the parish. And so there's just so much more that we can desire for our parishioners than just to be present at the church. We can desire for them to receive so much that it pours out into their own lives, into their communities, and they become these engines, these agents of evangelization for our own communities. And then third, and Ty, you kind of gave a little primer on this too. The third thing you can do if you're really looking to build concrete pathways is to bring us in for our Discipleship Pathway Builder workshop. We do have a specific workshop that deals exactly with what we're talking about today. If you're listening to this, you like the idea, but it seems overwhelming. If you would like hands-on support in building your discipleship pathways, I do want you to consider bringing us in for this Discipleship Pathway Builder workshop, because we can sit down with you, help you to assess your parish, its strengths as well as its weaknesses, and even opportunities to steep your culture in discipleship and evangelization, because we can guide you through the process of developing these sustainable, engaging discipleship strategies that will fit your parish's unique needs. You can bear more fruit, and our simple framework for holding your entire team accountable is going to blow your mind. It'll help you to install these new processes and have great success through doing that. So if you'd be interested in bringing us in for a Discipleship Pathway Builder workshop, you can email me, john@catholicmenpros.com, and I'll send you a link to book a discovery call today.
Hey, John, is that a new email?
It is a new email. It's my professional email.
Hey,
Yep.
nice. Can
Of course,
you repeat it?
it's john@catholicmenpros.com.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Oh,
I
it's
love
so
it.
much better. Now, if you send one to the old email, it'll still make it to me. But yeah, john@catholicmenpros.com. And with that, I think we can move on to the devil's advocate. Dun dun.
You keep giving me so much work. This is a lot of work. Creating intentional pathways of discipleship sounds like a huge time and resource commitment. How can I possibly sustain this long term with my staff, which is limited, with my resources, which are also limited? I just don't have the time or the capacity to do it.
And I'll throw in there, I'll even add another one. we all, when we're thinking about this, you can think of one or two or three people whose personalities are going to make any kind of change like this extremely hard. And you're wondering,
Ethel.
yeah, Ethel, darn it, Ethel. And you're wondering how is it possible to even begin to work this direction? And that's a valid concern, right? That this process can feel overwhelming, especially if you do have limited resources, limited people to help. But the key here, and this is the thing I want you to think about, is not to overhaul everything all at once. The key is to start small and build up incrementally over time, right? Some beats none any day of the week, right? And if you're afraid of not doing it perfectly, and so you don't start at all, that's worse than just doing something sort of okay. So you don't need to recreate everything. You just begin with one or two really simple pathways. And if you can't get the whole team on board, focus on something that you can control. Maybe it's the way that you choose to engage with people. Maybe you can't start the whole parish in the way it onboards parishioners. Maybe you can't get that started, but maybe you can take the initiative and you can begin to have a booth or a table or being present on the weekends and engaging a group of volunteers on the weekends to be present after church to welcome new parishioners, so that rather than just waiting people to engage the front office, you are now becoming that front face. Like there's simple ways that you can begin to start this small and build it up, but also to keep in mind that there's not one size fits all discipleship pathway for you. You can tailor the pathways for the way that will work best for your parish's unique context. So in terms of your resources, just use what you already have. Use the leaders, use the existing programs and the community of people that God has given you that you've already cultivated. But to start with a clear vision, start small and build from there. And I think when you do that, you'll begin to see little successes, little victims. You'll begin to build some momentum, and you'll be building within the people who experience it a desire for more. And that's what you're going to cultivate here as you continue to transform your parish through your work. And go
Well,
ahead.
I was just going to say micro progression, not aggression, micro progression is it's sneakily good, right? Like the little things, just start with the little things. It could be, hey, we need to be more welcoming, right? So at mass, let's actually introduce ourselves versus just saying, hey, welcome to mass, and start handing out bulletins, right? Hey, I'm Ty. Welcome to our parish. Are you new here? Like, actually get to know people in your parish and start building that relationship. It's amazing how we just think like, here's the grand vision of what I want, right? Like my example with the blog post. Here's another example. I want to play golf like Tiger Woods. Okay, how are you going to get there? You can't go from shooting 100 to course record and major championships and PGA tournament victories in a week or a year. I actually don't even think you can do that in a lifetime, a normal golfer. But what are some of the things that you could take from Tiger's game or Jack Nicklaus or whoever, Jordan Spieth, whoever your golfer of choice is, and you start there. Hey, let's work on the grip. My grip is terrible. Let's start with putting, chipping, like just these small little incremental changes over time become big changes. You can't just jump from one thing and take a huge giant leap. You're going to fall flat on your face. And what it's going to do is it's going to um, really deter you from wanting any change, right? It's going to stop you from even trying. And that's the last thing that we want as a Christian community is to stop trying.
Mhm.
So micro progressions, if you start installing that into your everyday actions, like you're going to see a huge improvement over time, just with compounding interest.
Yeah. Well, and I've even, there's a great book on that by James Clear, Atomic Habits. It's a great book. Anybody could get a lot from that book, but one of his key concepts is that if you maybe not can't get 100% better today, but what if you could get 1% better today? And what if you did that again tomorrow? By the end of the year, you would be 365% better, right? Now, even if you can't get 1% better every day, but what if you could just get better, 1% better every week? What if you could retool what you're doing 1% better every week? By the end of the year, you're 52% better. Well, that's still even greater than never getting better, right? So that's still amazing. So there's just that incremental change over time reaps great rewards. Absolutely, that compounded interest.
So then, John, what are some things that we can do?
Absolutely. And I think one of the best things you can do to start is to evaluate your ministry, like we said above. And I'm going to suggest conducting a ministry audit to review the programs that are currently in place. And for each of those programs, ask yourself, how is it contributing to discipleship? Does it offer clear entry points for people at different stages? And then just simply what's working well and where are the gaps? And you're going to take notice on all these, like where they're aligning to the pathways, how you want them to be enhanced to align with the pathways. But then identify one program to start with and begin developing a pathway. But more importantly, whoever's in charge of that ministry, if it's you, great. If it's someone else, book a meeting with them and put it on your calendar to have that conversation and see where that goes. That's the number one. And then the second one is simply to consider bringing us in for Discipleship Pathway Builder Workshop, right? Again, that's John. You can email me at john@catholicmenpros.com and I'll send you a link to book a discovery call today. And we'll talk about what your needs are and if we could be a good fit to help you move the ball forward and transform your parish through your work. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to the Catholic Ministry Professionals podcast. Next week, we'll be expanding on this conversation with Father Travis Karate, the Vocations Director for the Diocese of Sioux City. And if you found this show helpful, please just take a few seconds, text it to a priest or a friend in ministry that could benefit from it.
And with that, we'll see you in the vineyard.